On social media, everything is polished, curated, and designed to look perfect. A woman's smile can seem radiant, her laughter contagious, her relationship flawless. You see her holding his hand, leaning into him, posting captions filled with love and gratitude. To the outside world, it looks like she's living her dream, like she has everything a woman could ever want. But what most men don't realize is that those smiles, those captions, those carefully crafted posts often hide the truth. They're not reflections of happiness, they're reflections of performance. A woman can master the art of appearing fulfilled even when her heart is empty. She does it not because she has found love, but because she wants to convince herself and everyone else that she has made the right choice. Pride fuels her performance. To admit otherwise would mean facing the reality she's been running from, that she settled, that she chose comfort over connection, stability over passion, safety over fire. And the human ego struggles to accept such a truth. So instead of facing it, she hides. She hides behind filtered pictures, affectionate captions, and public displays of love. She hides behind vacations and posed photos, hoping the outside approval will drown out the quiet voice inside that whispers she isn't truly happy. And in many ways, it works. Friends comment with admiration. Family praises her relationship. Strangers envy her perfect life. The validation she receives temporarily soothes her doubts, making her believe that maybe, just maybe, she made the right choice after all. But it never lasts. Because while the world sees her glowing smile, behind closed doors, she feels restless, distracted, and unfulfilled. Every smile in those pictures comes with effort. Every affectionate post takes energy she doesn't truly feel. And the harder she tries to maintain the illusion, the heavier the burden becomes. Pretending takes a toll. It drains her spirit little by little, forcing her to live into realities, the one she shows the world and the one she hides from herself. On the surface, she's a woman in love, cherished by her man, thriving in her relationship. But beneath the surface, she is unsettled. Her heart beats for something else, something she cannot find in the man beside her. She knows it, but she's not ready to admit it. Not to herself, not to him. Certainly not to the world watching her every move. This is why her performance matters so much. It's not just about looking happy. It's about protecting herself from shame. If she admits she chose wrong, she admits she stayed with a man she doesn't truly respect or desire, she risks not only judgment from others, but also judgment from herself. And that's the hardest truth to face, that deep down she knew better. But fear made her settle. So, she keeps performing. She keeps smiling for the camera. She keeps writing captions about blessings she doesn't actually feel. To everyone else, she looks complete. But to herself, she knows she is only playing a role. And no matter how perfect the performance, the truth always lingers in the silence after the applause. ChatGPT said, "The man she stays with often isn't a villain, nor is he necessarily unworthy. In many cases, he is stable, dependable, perhaps even kind. He may provide her with financial security, consistency, or the comfort of knowing someone is there when she reaches out. On paper, it looks like everything a woman could ever want. To outsiders, he is the type of man she should be grateful for. And in a way, she convinces herself of the same thing. She tells herself, he's good to me, he shows up, he's better than others I've known. But what she cannot force is genuine admiration or true desire. And that is the quiet secret that poisons everything. Because when a woman does not admire the man she's with, the relationship begins to feel like a transaction rather than a connection. He becomes a placeholder, a shield against loneliness, a proof to others that she is wanted, that she is not alone. This is why she clings to the image instead of the reality. Society has conditioned her to believe her worth is tied to her relationship status. From childhood, she's been told that a woman who cannot keep a man or who chooses to walk away is somehow flawed. She risks being labeled too picky or hard to please, so she chooses the safer path. She chooses to stay with him, even if he does not ignite her spirit. She chooses the image of a relationship over the reality of her own desires. And the performance continues. She posts about him online, not to celebrate him, but to reassure herself that she hasn't failed. Each smiling photo, each anniversary post, each caption about being lucky is more about silencing her doubts than celebrating her love. The tragedy is that the man often believes it. He sees her smile and assumes it's real. He reads her affectionate words and assumes they are genuine. He takes her presence as proof of her devotion. He doesn't realize that much of what she does is rooted in fear rather than passion. And so, he invests even more into her, believing that he has found someone who truly appreciates him. Meanwhile, she feels a growing sense of emptiness. She knows deep down that what she is showing isn't authentic, and the weight of that realization makes her restless. Every time she forces herself to laugh at his jokes, every time she writes a loving caption that doesn't reflect her real feelings, she chips away at her own authenticity. She knows her smiles fade as soon as the camera turns off. She knows her words sound hollow when she reads them back. But she can't stop because the alternative, walking away, terrifies her more than staying. To admit she's settled would mean admitting she fears being alone more than she values her own truth. And so, she stays. The world sees a happy couple. But what they don't see is that she's not celebrating her relationship. She's hiding behind it. Pretending is never seamless, no matter how carefully it is done. With time, the cracks always appear. At first, they may be subtle, almost invisible to those who are blinded by the picture of perfection. They slip through in her body language. When she sits beside him, but angles her torso slightly away, they echo in the tone of her voice when she talks about him with words that sound more like duty than admiration. They hide in her eyes when she looks at him, not with spark or fire, but with a fatigue she can't quite disguise. These cracks are small enough that most men dismiss them. They'd rather believe in the illusion than trust their own instincts. But the truth is always there, whispering through the spaces her performance cannot cover. The more pressure life puts on her, the harder it becomes to keep the mask in place. When things are light and easy, vacations, dinners, celebrations, she can play the role convincingly. She laughs on cue, smiles at the right moments, and puts on the appearance of devotion. But when stress arrives, when challenges test the strength of her bond with him, the pretense falters. Authentic love grows stronger in difficulty, but performance begins to unravel. Instead of standing by him, she may turn cold, dismissive, or critical. Instead of offering support, she may distance herself emotionally, revealing the truth she's been hiding. And this is the beginning of the unraveling. This is why so many men are left in shock when a woman suddenly leaves after what looked like years of happiness. To him, the relationship felt secure. He remembers her smiles, her laughter, the vacations, and affectionate posts. He replays those memories in his mind and wonders how she could have seemed so happy if she wasn't. But what he fails to see is that her happiness was never about him. It was about the image she wanted to maintain, the life she wanted others to believe she had, the illusion that made her feel safe from judgment. And once that illusion grew heavier than her fear of leaving, she walked away. Not because anything suddenly changed, but because she could no longer carry the weight of the lie. For the man, this moment is devastating. He questions himself, wondering if he missed the signs. He wonders if he wasn't enough, if he could have done more, if he could have loved her better. But the truth is that her act was never sloppy. She became skilled at hiding her real feelings, convincing both him and herself that she was content. It wasn't that he failed to notice it, was that she had become a master of disguise. Still, no matter how well she played the part, truth has a way of seeping out. It leaks into her sighs when she thinks no one is listening. It shows in the way her smile fades the second the camera turns off. It reveals itself in the quiet moments when performance is no longer necessary. And eventually, the illusion collapses, leaving both of them staring at the wreckage of a love that never truly existed. At the core of her performance lies fear, and fear is a powerful master. She doesn't stay with the wrong man because he fulfills her. She stays because she is terrified of what leaving would mean. She fears being judged, she fears being seen as a failure, and she fears facing the silence of her own company. From childhood, she has been told that a woman's value is measured by her ability to keep a man, to build a family, to sustain a relationship. Walking away even when her heart is unfulfilled feels like an admission of inadequacy. So instead of confronting the emptiness, she convinces herself that safety is enough. He is stable, he is reliable, he offers predictability, and so she tells herself she should be happy. But stability without passion is a cage. It calms her fears but suffocates her soul, and the longer she stays, the more she feels the quiet misery of living a life that doesn't stir her spirit. She lies awake at night, scrolling through memories of past moments that once made her heart race, wondering why she feels nothing now. She thinks about men who once sparked her desire, not because she wants them back, but because they remind her of what it feels like to be truly alive. Her current relationship gives her order, but it lacks fire. And though she pretends that fire isn't important, her body and her heart know the truth. Stability can pay the bills, it can provide consistency, but it cannot create passion. And without passion, every kiss feels forced. Every compliment feels hollow. Every affectionate gesture feels like an act in a play that she no longer wants to perform. Over time, this pretense erodes her from the inside out. Every day she forces a smile. Every day she praises him publicly while feeling disconnected privately. She chips away at her own authenticity. The resentment begins quietly. At first, it's frustration with herself for not feeling the way she thinks she should. But as the months and years pass, that resentment spills over onto him. She begins to see him not as a man who loves her, but as a reflection of the choice she made out of fear. His presence becomes a reminder of the life she settled for, and the more he loves her, the more trapped she feels. It isn't that he is unworthy, it's that she cannot respect herself while staying with him, because every day beside him is proof of her own compromise. Her act becomes heavier with time. What once felt manageable becomes exhausting. The captions, the photos, the anniversaries, the words of devotion, all of it becomes harder to fake. And when she looks in the mirror, she barely recognizes herself anymore. The woman who once dreamed of passion and fulfillment is now a performer, acting out a role for the approval of others. And though she tells herself that leaving would be harder than staying, deep down she knows the opposite is true. The longer she suppresses her truth, the more unbearable her life becomes. And eventually the weight of the performance grows heavier than the fear of judgment. That is the breaking point, the moment where fear no longer controls her, but instead becomes the very reason she can no longer stay. For the man, the danger lies in believing what he sees without questioning what he feels. He sees her smiles, hears her affectionate words, and experiences her presence as though it were proof of love. He interprets her performance as authenticity because he wants to believe it. He wants to believe that the woman he invests in is as invested in him. So he builds his future around her, pours his loyalty into her, and offers her his heart without hesitation. But what he doesn't realize is that he is building on sand. No matter how solid the picture looks, the foundation is weak because it is not built on genuine desire. And when the illusion inevitably crumbles, he is left standing in ruins, confused about how everything he trusted turned out to be a lie. The collapse doesn't happen suddenly. Even if it feels that way, it has been brewing quietly for years, hidden beneath the surface of her smiles and captions. By the time she finally leaves or admits her dissatisfaction, the truth has already existed for a long time. She stayed not out of love but out of fear, and when that fear became heavier than her pretense, she could no longer continue. For him, it feels like betrayal. It feels like theft, not only of his trust, but of his years. Because while he gave his devotion sincerely, she gave him only a performance. While he built his life around her truth, she built her life around a lie. And that kind of betrayal leaves scars deeper than heartbreak. Yet the tragedy is not his alone. She pays a price as well. By pretending, she robs herself of authenticity. She robs herself of the chance to experience the kind of love that sets her soul on fire. Instead of pursuing what she truly wants, she chooses the safety of appearances. And in doing so, she wastes years hiding from herself. When she finally breaks free, she may look strong to outsiders, but she knows the truth. She stayed because she was scared. Scared of being alone, scared of being judged, scared of admitting she settled for less. And when she looks back on her life, that fear becomes regret. Regret for the moments she silenced her heart. Regret for the love she never allowed herself to feel. Regret for the truth she buried beneath the performance. This is why men must learn to trust their instincts. Words can be convincing, smiles can be rehearsed, but energy never lies. If her admiration feels absent, if her affection feels forced, if her joy always seems to need an audience, pay attention. Don't dismiss the quiet voice inside telling you something is off, because a woman who pretends will always reveal herself in the small details. And ignoring those signs only guarantees deeper pain later. Real love is effortless in its truth. It doesn't need to be advertised. It doesn't need to be forced. It doesn't drain you with doubt. A woman who truly loves you will never have to pretend, because her happiness will show naturally. In the way she looks at you, in the way she speaks about you, and in the way she chooses you without hesitation. The man who learns this truth spares himself years of confusion, betrayal, and heartbreak, and he saves his heart for the one woman who doesn't perform love, but lives it.